duetu, zespół Pipes and Drums.
Dearly beloved family, friends, and everyone who has been touched by the remarkable life of America. Today, as we gather in this solemn yet reflective moment, I am tasked with the bittersweet honor of paying tribute to America. While our hearts are heavy with grief, they are also filled with profound gratitude for having been graced by its presence in our lives. America was not just a part of our life, it was a part of our very being, leaving an indelible mark that will forever be cherished. Born on 1776 in the town of Philadelphia, America began its journey in this world. From its earliest days, it was evident that it was a special country. Its childhood was filled with moments that foreshadowed an incredible country. America grew up with a boundless curiosity, a compassionate heart, and a joyous spirit that would become the pillars of its character. America's life was a living testament to the power of love, kindness, and selflessness. It had a unique ability to touch lives in a profound way, whether through its gentle words, its warm embrace, or simply its comforting presence. The country's heart was a haven for many, offering love and support unconditionally. I'm sure you've heard the news today. Supreme Court has made the decision. Immunity for presidents is absolute as long as it's considered an official act. Presidents are immune. This is the antithesis of America. This decision is the shot in the forehead of American democracy. The Supreme Court has decided that men are kings. Presidents are kings, I mean. The deceased was not able to leave us a message about what they would like to have been shown at their funeral. So I have decided to pick 3 videos that I thought would um, give us an idea of what America was. Just the first video, and then the second video is a rendition of the Star Spangled Banner, and the third video is a spoken word poem called Eulogy for America. Please be respectful when watching these videos. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Sayara. I'm in 6th grade at Rivers Elementary School. I want to know, why did George Washington not want to be king of the United States of America?
Why didn't George Washington want to become king at the end of the American Revolutionary War? Well, he didn't fight the war to become a king. He fought the war to redress their complaints against Parliament, against the Crown, and to create an independent United States. And of course, one of the reasons they decided to fight for independence of the United States was the very persuasive arguments made by Thomas Paine in the book Common Sense, which came out in January of 1776. It was a phenomenon, a bestseller. And what it did was it argued about the stupidity of hereditary power, that is, power that comes based on who your parents were. So if you are born a prince, then you become king and your children become king. That was seen to be a foolish way to govern a people, that people should be able to choose their leaders and choose the best leaders so that they can govern themselves. And so these ideas were very much a part of why the Americans were fighting for independence to begin with. And so George Washington, at the end of the war, believed in that very much, that it was up to the people to choose how they would rule themselves. And so he, at the end of the war, resigned his commission in the military and returned as a private citizen to George Washington's Mount Vernon. It was an extraordinary act when he did it, because in so many other great revolutions and wars, the military leaders took over. They took over power. But George Washington didn't believe that. He believed that the people could choose, and that it was a great experiment that they were embarked upon, the idea that people could choose their own leaders. And so by giving up power, George Washington became famous in the world for that act. So rather than becoming a king, he became one of the great men in history.
And now, of course, that is no longer the case. Men are kings now, or presidents are kings, according to the Supreme Court. The tradition started with George Washington has been destroyed. Thank you, America, for all that you do. The last bit of the funeral here, and we do have snacks in the lobby. Please, if you do decide to get up early during this 6-minute poem, please be quiet and respectful in the lobby while the rest of us listen to this. This is Eulogy for America by Leanne Reed off her spoken word album, Crazy Thunder Medicine. Thank you, Leanne. Kind words. Like I said, please be quiet in the lobby. Choose to leave.
Rest in peace, Grandma, Great-Grandma, Gigi, Nana, Mama, Mima, Abuelita, Nona, Oma, mothers. The ones who told stories and baked bread. The ones who couldn't read or cook. The ones whose hugs were the best and the grumpy old ladies. To the ones who took the recipe and every family secret to the grave. To the nurses and teachers we never got to say goodbye to. Go well into the good night. Rise in power, Grandpa, Great-Grandpa, Papa, Pops, Daddy, Abuela, Opa, old man, fathers. The ones who led their families with honor and the ones who just couldn't. The war heroes and the first responders, to the ones who built with their hands and the ones who mostly broke things, to the ones with the best voice, who beat their drum and sang their culture, to the ones who never passed down their secrets or talked about the war. To our protectors and friends, may your work be done. Be at one with the moon, Auntie, Tia, sister, friend, the quiet one who made the best potato salad, the loud one who danced the best, the one with the style and makeup but was always humble about it, the TV star, the one you could always trust or could trust to never trust, the troublemakers, the wine drinkers, teetotalers, spinsters, and gardeners, the ones you couldn't quit to save their life. The one who could recite the entire family history, but no one really cared. So many missing and murdered Indigenous women. For everyone who never made it home from their walk, be free now. Dance forever to the beat of your heart. Fly to Mars, be free. Uncle, Tio, brother, friend, the one who taught you everything you needed to know and a couple of things you didn't. The ones who worked their butts off, who were a good example or who were a great example of a bad example. The ones who taught you how to fight but never to fight. The ones who could build or fix anything but were always humble about it. To the exes we will never forget. To the ones died locked up for nothing. To the uncle who was murdered fighting against street violence. And especially the ones who fixed your car for free. Man, do we miss you. You were one in a million. Go to the stars, cousin, children, babies, the bubbly ones who barely got a start, the one you played tag with at the reunion, the one who loved dress up, the ones with the light in their eyes, the good kids and the ones who just wouldn't listen, to the futures never lived, the one that played the flute, the poets, the bass players, the athletes, and the ones that never shut up about Harry Potter. Xbox, PS5, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, My Little Pony, art, science, wonder. Roam free and dance like the lights in the sky. I hope you can still be anything one day. I believe you may come back again for even more life. Rest easy, forgotten ones, homeless, nameless, lost, abandoned, sick Americans, the ones who never saw it coming. Who fought a good fight. Be warm and loved by the land that was never there for you. Let the earth was always free and there for you. Be held in the embrace of Mother Earth. You're home now. Mourn our losses. The senior years and college graduations, the weddings, the funerals, the goodbyes that couldn't happen, the businesses, sports, jobs, homes, stability, peace, savings, plans, plans, plans. Hope, always hope. Feel the pain. Remember the smell of Grandma's cookies, the chaos or order of Grandpa's workshop, the funny smell of your uncle's cigar he swore he never inhaled. Feel the wind on your face as they swung you in the air. Taste the lip gloss you borrowed from your cousin. Remember the beautiful sunsets you watched with your sweetheart, those cool hairstyles only your aunt could do. Hear the songs sung only your family seems to know. Remember the holidays, the barbecues, the fights at the holidays and barbecues. Remember the powwows, quinceañeras, bar mitzvahs, baby showers, concerts, festivals, baptisms, and bonfires. Remember that time when, hold that secret and the handshake close to your heart. That's just for family. Whomever and whatever you have is precious. People, time, places, events, home, opportunities, potential. Do what you can. You can always do something. It is almost always beautiful outside. There is always hope. We must mourn together yet apart for a while. Do not ignore or deny it, for that will make you sicker. Accept the loss. Wear a mask. We will persevere to a new day. We will heal and grow eventually as a country, as families, individuals, communities, just not today or this year, maybe not even the next, but today we can be a nation joined in mourning, honor this time of loss, and grow as a people experiencing the same thing. We must always be grateful for what we have and look ever towards building a future for the healing and the processing of all this grief to the hope of a better nation.
Thank you very much, Ian Reed, for those beautiful words. That is the end of today's funeral for America. I'm sure America deserves much more, much bigger. Maybe it will get it, but at least for today, at least for now, in this tiny little corner of the internet, we say goodbye to American democracy. We herald the world of American kings. May God help us all. May God help us all. We're going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to go get stoned. I don't like to get stoned at funerals. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and we're going to be right back with the News Underground. So much for coming to funeral.
Ooh, that Texas heat.
It's bucket party time, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, Freddy Confetti, pop off, pop off.
Folks, welcome to the motherfucking News Underground. I am Abandoned Nihilism, aka the Harbinger, aka the realest motherfucker on Twitch. I guess I apologize for the slow start, but I felt it was appropriate to say goodbye. To say goodbye to this country. This will go down in history as the moment that America truly slipped from its democracy without being hyperbolic, being purely clinical, being purely objective, just on a fact-based analysis. This is the moment that American democracy died. The moment that America said presidents are kings, presidents are immune. So I thought what we would do is just watch some of the Supreme Court news. You know, you've heard what I had to say. You understand. I'm not being ironic at all. I know it's comedic in its own way. I acknowledge that, but I'm 100% serious. This is exactly what I was warning about. This is, all the cynics when they talked about Supreme Court and Mitch McConnell packing the courts and, all of the, the Project 2025 stuff and the stuff that Steve Bannon's been talking about. And Saggy Slopster, the Magna Carta was actually made irrelevant by Barack Obama, who made the Bush era, temporary security measures permanent. It was Barack Obama who killed the Magna Carta. I remember that day. But I mean, historians will argue about this forever. But I do believe that it will be considered MSNBC spinning this. This is amazing. Wow, I'm sorry I got distracted looking at this. Let me just change this here, but MSNBC. Supreme Court rules Trump is not fully immune. All right, so hey, look, this is a less doomer take. Fox is going bananas. Of course, it's bittersweet. It's great news today. I wanted to be celebrating. Steve Bannon went to jail. Steve fucking Bannon went to jail. Celebrate! Ah, ah. You know, could the Supreme Court wait a fucking day? Shut up, Kim Goblin. What do you want from me? It's literally the end of America. Yes, this is the fucking topic. I'm sorry. Maybe, I don't know. I interpreted that question as like, is this all the news we're covering today? Because I'm such a negative cynic. Please tell me, Kim Goblin, that was not what you were trying to say. You were trying to be like, you know, just inquisitive, wanting to know. I'm just asking. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm standing before a corpse that has just been shot to death. Okay? Do you understand the trauma that I'm going through right now? So you're going to have to be patient with me right now. Just gonna pour it on. All right, or you could do that. Nothing to spin. Means if you're rich and become president, just appeal and tie whatever up in the courts. Look, it means this, that we're going to have, there's going to be no more presidents. Because how is this, think about this. How is this going to work? How is this going to work? I can tell you how this is going to work. Not Biden, but somebody else. Maybe Trump. Maybe not. Maybe Biden wins and we get 4 more years. But maybe it's Ted Cruz. Maybe it's Matt Gaetz. Whoever's in their way, arrest them without cause, break all the laws. It's an executive order, or executive order here, executive order there, executive order here. I'm talking going after your political opponents, just as Trump promises. You'd be like, well, they did it to me. Well, they did it to me. Which is, of course, factually wildly inaccurate. And even if it was true, shouldn't you be the guy that stops this instead of makes excuses and doubles down? Yeah, well, being an emperor is pretty easy. No, this is it. There's no more presidents after Biden. Biden's going to play by the rules, isn't he? You know, and Republicans know that. All these Republicans you see on social media literally fucking jerking their dick right now at the thought of an emperor, of an American emperor. They have no idea that they have no idea what they've created, what they've done. The goal is to maintain party power and dominance, and what they have done is they've completely destroyed democracy in the process of keeping their disgusting Republican Party relevant, keeping it in power. They've sacrificed everything to the party. Everything. Literally. We got Steve Bannon talking. All right, let's change it up a little bit. Let's hear from this fat, whiskey-soaked asshole who's on his way to a fucking jail cell. Might be sitting in a jail cell right fucking now.
Biden until September, October. He did it for the country to be able to expose, and took all the rules that CNN gave, right? Every rule, and I disagreed with that, and I told him that. He did that for the country. And he wanted to expose the lies of the ruling elite in this country. You have a cadaver in 1600 Pennsylvania.
So bizarre. I mean, this man, you know, the blueprint that's been used is you know, was partially written by Steve Bannon. He's the architect of this. You know, he's sitting in a jail cell with a big fucking smile on his face, hearing this news, knowing full well that, you know, if all Trump needs to do is get into office, and it's all bets are off. I'm out of jail. I'm in government. You know, Steve Bannon back in government.
Excuse me?
What advice did Trump have for you?
All right, this is migraine inducing. Fuck that. Let's see this reaction from MSNBC over here. I guess they're trying to spin it positive, trying not to be a doomer. Let's hear what they got to say.
I've got a whole table of people who want to read through it before we give you any big breaking headlines. So, Chuck, just talk to me about the complexity here. Go broad lines as Lisa and Andrew read through this.
I will buy them some time because,
thank you very much.
Because they are smarter than me and ought to be reading it and discussing it first with you. But the complexities.
Holy shit, you fucking bootlicker. We get it. You want to keep and save your MSNBC job. The fucking... Look, you know, the whole access journalism model, it goes right to the top. You ever notice how the guests fillet the fucking network? It's not an accident. If you watch this shit as much as I do, you'll notice that shit. You know, I've never seen this fucking idiot before in my life. You know what I mean? But, I mean, if you wanted a good example, just a couple days ago, the guys that were sitting next to Jake Tapper, and we were watching it, Dana Bash and Jake Tapper. Oh, they did a great job. They did a great job. They did a great job. I got some great clips, by the way, that if, you know, I'll show them. I'll show them today of Jake Tapper and not Jake Tapper, but Dana Bash getting shit on by, I think, John Clyburn, basically saying the moderation was god awful, right to Dana Bash's face. Are people still people? Of course.
The various scenarios: full immunity, no immunity, or something in between where a president gets immunity for official acts.
Top line takeaway, not fully immune. Okay, sorry, Chuck, for interrupting.
Right, so to that point,
I say this is a live reaction of the news coming in. This was from 4 hours ago, and they're immediately like, it's seemingly what they're trying to do is play damage control so that this, what, for Joe Biden? I don't know.
Point that a president is not fully immune. The hard part, the complexity, Katie, is what is an official 100%. Act and who gets to decide it.
You know, it started with Bush. You know, the unitary, you know, with Bush and motherfucking who's that fat fuck Newt Gingrich? You know, the permanent majority or some shit is what he called it. It was solidified in Obama, who did nothing, who held Bush accountable, negative accountability. Zero investigations, let him off the hook completely. Cheney, of course, but zero accountability for his crimes. In fact, like I said, Barack Obama solidified it into law. And yeah, I know it goes all the way back. It goes, you know, further back to Reagan, of course. But, you know, it was really accelerated in the Bush era after 9/11. Barack Obama put a stamp of approval on that. Donald Trump was so goddamn incompetent, he had his thumb up his ass his entire fucking presidency, watching CNN, worried about what fucking Dana Bash has to say about him more than actually running the country. So his incompetence basically saved us. And, of course, COVID was a big distraction. Thankfully, there was no major, there were major things, but nothing world-ending. And here we are.
That it will be, you know, sort of the devil in the details of this
absolute
opinion.
Immunity for official acts, not absolute immunity for non-official acts. You know that we're getting into breaking news because the background behind us has turned red.
Yeah. So this is 6-3. The three liberal justices.
Hey, how many hours of this nonsense do we have to watch before you have any kind of legitimate discussion about how the neoliberals need to fucking add some seats to this fucking court immediately? Huh? How many fucking hours do we got to watch of this fucking trash before you do a 5-minute hold the neoliberals accountable segment? What, at 1 o'clock in the morning? How about you have a legitimate discussion about the options that are on the fucking table? I better see that, because we're going to be going, you know what? Fuck it. This is old news. We've seen the reaction. You don't know what's going on. Supreme Court says they're immune. So let's go here. I'm curious now. Of course, they're talking about it. 5-alarm fire. Yep. Okay. Trump says Trump has some immunity and some blah, 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 blah. Okay. Where's the goddamn discussion about adding seats? This is absolute immunity, according to some dude with silver hair. Immunity ruling terrifying. Weissman. Okay. Stepping aside could relieve Kristen Wilkes. So they're still having a discussion, even though Biden said without a single bit of shredded doubt, I'm not stepping down. We're not stopping. So MSNBC still having a fantasy about Gavin Newsom replacing Biden. Supreme Court ruling, massive reverberations. Okay, expands presidential power as we know it. Okay, yep, that's true. No, I thought maybe they're going to say expand Supreme Court. Because remember, folks, there is a process to add more judges to the Supreme Court. You're not allowed to add an even amount. You have to add an odd amount. And the argument is that they should add 3 people. They need to do this immediately. Then they need to then immediately shop around for a civil rights or, some kind of case that they can find a democracy-friendly judge to send it to the fucking Supreme Court, just as the Republicans do. They shop around for judges. They find conservative partisan judges to send these very specific cases to the Supreme Court so that the Supreme Court can set a new precedent into law. They shop around for them. This is exactly what the neoliberals need to do to literally save democracy. How does the other guy compare to Biden? How does the other guy compare to Biden? Mussolini. Retarded Mussolini, basically. That's how the other guy compares to Joe Biden. Stop panicking. NYT op-ed urges Democrats to rally. Yeah, vote blue no matter who. I mean, he's right, but probably for all the wrong reasons. Imperial presidency is now concrete. Blueprint on how to end the rule of law. So this is Neil Cattell. I think I did see this clip, and I do think there is a discussion about adding seats at the Supreme Court here. Let's have a peek.
Let's bring in Neil Katyal. Neil.
Katyal.
Yeah, I want to return to this point from the dissents about the impact of this decision today on our democracy. And, in response to Chuck, and Chuck's absolutely right, the majority says there'll be case-by-case hearings to determine whether something is an official act or not. I just don't think, and I agree here with the dissent, that that's any sort of protection here. We've never needed those kinds of case-by-case hearings before. We've always just assumed a president is not above the law. And in these hearings, these case-by-case hearings, as Lisa points out, you can't even introduce any evidence of a president's motive, why he was trying to do something like pressure the Justice Department or do whatever. And there'll be a presumption in favor of the president. As Justice Jackson says, that's just ridiculous. And here's what practically this means. A president, like Donald Trump next year, or whoever the president is, can take a blatantly illegal act, slap the label, hey, this is an official act, and write that in the preface to whatever the heck he's doing.
And we're talking about literally anything. Use your imagination. Okay? We're talking full-blown emperor. The Saudi kings, right? Is anyone going to tell the Saudi kings what to do? Princes and princesses or whatever the hell in Saudi Arabia? Full-blown emperor. Except the difference is the entire world order kind of depends on America's democracy in one way or the other. And I know that sounds incredibly egotistical, but it's true. It's based on the dollar, based on trust in the dollar. The whole apple cart upends if America starts acting like China. I swear to God, it's World War fucking III. Biden is a coward and a fool and a terrible leader. And what I suspect is going to happen is that maybe today, maybe tomorrow, I don't know. Joe Biden is going to make a speech and make a statement saying, I'm not going to do anything. I'm gonna pretend like this didn't happen. I'm gonna finish my presidency, and if I get another 4 years, I'm gonna do my presidency completely ignoring this, and I'm not gonna touch it. And I believe him. In reality, I do believe he should do this. In reality, he should show the Republicans exactly what it feels like. He should say, executive order, felons aren't allowed to run for president. Executive order, anybody, January 6th was an attempted coup, and any government official that participated in January 6th needs to be arrested and tried in a court of jail immediately. He could do these things right now, just edicts. And like the executive order system was already really kind of, democratically shaky. But now the gloves are off. I, the President of the United States, want you to die. It's an official act. It'll be my little kangaroo court. We'll have a quick discussion about what is and isn't an official act. Well, did he sign it on a presidential paper? Was that the presidential seal? That was an official executive order? Well, there you go, official act. Bye, Timmy. Shouldn't have talked shit about the president on Twitter, Timmy. No, that's it, dude. Whatever you want, baby. And instantly. It's the kind of like if Donald Trump had this power, during his 4 years, it'd be Emperor Trump. The election would have been canceled by edict. That's it. This is it. The motherfucking nuclear scenario is happening. And Joe Biden, like I said, is a coward. And he's not going to use any of this power that's been given to him. And, in a way, it's admirable, right? Because it's like, no, I'm gonna show that, we can do this without using this power. And then he's going to lose to a Republican after another 4 years, if we're lucky. Because the Republicans are going to go, yeah, you bet I'm going to use that power. I'm going to do that to go after the liberals. I'm going to go after all the brown people. And we're going to do a mass deportation. And we're going to institute a new theocratic rule. That's what it's going to be, baby. Christianity is going to be the national religion. Abortion's going to be banned up and down. Child marriage is going to be legalized nationwide. All the nearly impossible things. Oh, and by the way, if you protest this at all, you are immediately considered an enemy of the state and will be arrested on the spot. Protesting is now illegal, says I, the Emperor of the United States. Sounds hyperbolic, sounds insane. Oh, I can already feel people tuning out and being like, oh, this is ridiculous. Welcome to your motherfucking future, dude. This is the entire point of what I'm doing. This is exactly what I've been warning about. This is it. Without irony, without emotion. And I know I'm coming with a lot of emotion, but if you just coldly analyze it like this fucking nerd in his $1 million sunroom, this is the beginning of a new era. And if you're like, well, what the fuck do I do? What the fuck do I do? It's always been the same solution, and it still is the same solution. It's the 3-step program. It's political activism. Step 1, inform yourself. Step 2, put your name down, sign up to a political organization. And step 3, put in the work. It's always been the answer. It's always the only answer. Even now. It's just now, if we get a Republican in there, we're going to be dying in the streets, man. It's going to be a war. It's going to be a legitimate people versus the President of the United States and whoever's loyal to him. Without hyperbole. I mean, without being hyperbolic at all. I promise you. This is exactly what we've been talking about. The cynics. The activists. The lefties. This is the end of American democracy. It's right now. Right now we're gliding. right? But all it takes is one edict after the other, right? The president is not going to come out and say the new edict, democracy done. He's going to be pretending it's a democracy well into a full-blown dictatorship.
And now we're going to have hearings and so on before district judges and then appeals to determine whether it's truly an official act or not. And it'll all take place against the backdrop of this Supreme Court decision, which says when you pressure, if you're the president and you pressure the Justice Department to throw out or to impugn an election results where you obviously have the greatest of personal motives, that's not a personal act, that's an official act. So if that's your standard for what is an official act, much else is going to be official. And what does this mean practically? I think it means if you're Joe Biden, if you're a Democrat who's running for the president, your path right now is clear. You have to run against the Supreme Court. You have to run against this decision. This is not America. If you want to make America great again, you got to return to the rule of law. This decision today, unfortunately, is a blueprint on how to end the rule of law.
Are you arguing adding justices to the Supreme Court?
I'm not arguing adding justices. I'm arguing that we need to have justices that are consistent with the rule.
And even now, because this guy's a neoliberal bootlicker, he's always towing the line for Joe Biden and the DNC. And even now, because the reason why he says that is because he doesn't know if that's the direction Joe Biden wants to go in. He doesn't know if that's the direction du jour on mainstream media. He's not sure if having that opinion will get him on TV more or less. You think I'm fucking with you? The obvious answer is adding more seats. And this so-called expert over here, cowardly, quietly, calmly, still doesn't recommend using tools that are on the table. Hey, we got a Phillips head screw over here. Can I use the Phillips head screwdriver to fix this screw? No. We need a coalition of people to think about how we're going to fix that screw. We need to come up with a better solution than the Phillips head for your Phillips head screw problem. I've said it before, I'll say it again. When the fascists take over America, it will be because the neoliberals failed to stop them. This is a duopoly. They've created a duopoly. We have two players in this game. And whether you want to say it's intentional or whether you want to say it's incompetence, does it fucking matter? Does it fucking matter whatever direction, intentional or incompetence, does it fucking matter? All that matters is the results. And the results are full-blown fascist dictatorship, folks. With the I mean, what is the military? How does the military react to this? They take an oath to the Constitution, don't they? What happens when the Constitution becomes null and void? Technically.
Rule of law, and with the most today, unfortunately, is a blueprint on how to end the rule.
Are you arguing adding justices to the Supreme Court?
I'm not arguing adding justices. I'm arguing that we need to have justices that are consistent with the rule of law and with the most.
We need to have justices. Well, what the fuck are you? What are you talking about then? That's a non-solution. It's fantasy shit. What do you want to snap your finger, Bewitched style? God damn, this fucking guy is supposed to be an expert. Look how much you think he paid for these 3 little jars over here, huh? $30,000, $40,000. These look like fucking expensive ass jars. Look at this fucking staircase. This is his home, right? This is his career. This guy's supposed to be the expert, one of the guys. He's constantly on your screen, constantly on TV. And this is his expertise. These are his suggestions. Still, even now.
Justices to the Supreme Court?
I'm not arguing adding justices. I'm arguing that we need to have justices that are consistent with the rule of law and with the most basic American tradition of which no person is above the law. And, I think, unfortunately, the dissents are right here in saying this really changes the nature of our entire government and presidency.
Neil, but running against the Supreme Court, these are life appointments. So unless a couple of them decide to resign or some appointments, so unless a couple of them... Neil, but running against the Supreme Court, these are life appointments. So unless a couple of them decide to resign or something happens, you're not going to get another appointment, and you might not get one in the next 4 years. What about, there is impeachment. That's a possibility for justices. It's a long shot, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything like that. I am saying, though, that I think much attention has to be given to what this decision will do
So I'm not saying that. I'm not saying. What I'm saying is I'm saying nothing. I'm saying we need to pay much attention. Why is this person still on TV? Why? Why? Did he write some book or something? Oh, former acting U.S. Solicitor. Oh, okay, I see. That's it. Oh, well, he used to work for an ineffectual government. Well, I'm not suggesting. I'm suggesting doing that. That is what he's suggesting. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm suggesting observation.
It's a long shot, but it's a possibility.
Anything. Yeah, I'm not saying anything like that. I am saying, though, that I think much attention has to be given to what this decision will do to our separation of powers, to our rule of law, as well as the decisions from last week in Dobbs and the like. This court now seems pretty out of step with mainstream American society. The idea that a president, as president, could pressure his Justice Department into doing certain things to help him in the election, and to call that absolutely immune, something that can't be looked at by a court, is, I think, constitutionally unfathomable.
I don't know why this person's on TV.
A real disservice to what the rule of law is about.
Interestingly, on the subject of motivation and the question of bribery, that example that was brought up, you have a disagreement from Justice Barrett.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. So I wasn't, it was inappropriate for me to interrupt acknowledging the chat during the funeral. But, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming back to the News Underground. Once again, I'd like to say it's the chat that makes the News Underground what it is. It's a privilege. It's not a right to be in this chat. You got to earn your stripes. Everybody that's here, just know that you've earned your fucking stripes. So thank you for being here.
This is in the footnotes on page 32, and she says, arguing that in a bribery prosecution, for instance, it's excluding any mention of the official act associated with the bribe would hamstring the prosecution. So there is some tension even within this majority opinion.
Yeah, this issue of sort of what evidence could come in, and this came up at oral argument. I'm a little surprised that Chief Justice Roberts goes with sort of exclusion here, and he says you can sort of deal with Justice Barrett's concerns about evidence by saying you can sort of work around that problem.
Go to Fox. Let's really get depressed. Let's watch some people celebrate this. Gutted case? Really? Legal experts conclude major. Okay.
Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor, George Washington University law professor and constitutional law attorney, and Andrew Cherkasky, former federal prosecutor. Welcome to you both. Jonathan, I'll get your top-line thoughts here as this news breaks. I want to read you directly from Justice Sotomayor's, from her decision, her dissent, along with Jackson and Kagan in this case, that if a president, quote, orders the Navy's SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power, immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon, immune, 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 immune. Were her words in her dissent. Your reaction at this hour?
Well, I think the problem with the dissent is that it doesn't show the same vigor in looking at the opposing view. President Obama ordered the killing of an American citizen by simply...
We just, what about it? Just immediately, what about it? Immediately feeding this this is, this is why every time you try to bring up reality to your uncle. This is the guy he's repeating from. This is the guy he vaguely remembers in between, beer naps on the couch, watching this guy vaguely say something about how it's like, well, what about Obama? What about other presidents who've committed crimes? Shouldn't we give? I mean, there's really a good case to be giving immunity. We can't have a president tied up. We gotta, the only way for America to function is to let a president literally do whatever the hell he wants. And it's funny because he's, Sotomayor is talking about really, crimes, like legitimate crimes that would help nobody. And, he's trying to bring up, this scenario of like the president having to be responsible for killings and crimes in defense of America, which is, of course, we know that that's totally bullshit. But he's just trying to say, oh, well, there's legitimate reasons that our president needs to be king, that our president needs to not be accountable to the law. It's totally ridiculous. But what he's doing is that he's adding a veneer of academic legitimacy to fascist dictatorship. Is what he's doing.
Declaring him to be a terrorist without a trial. Clearly, Justice Sotomayor does not appear alarmed about that, and presumably would view that within a core function. So what the majority was trying to do here is to find something in the middle. I
believe that sort of immunity has been enshrined. There was a decision by the Supreme Court that says, a sitting president can't be, taken to court for those kind of things until they're a citizen, and then, then they can be held accountable. But that was really always up to the next president, I guess, and the department, the head of, the AG, Attorney General, that is chosen. And it's always been kind of a hidden rule that Republicans and Democrats don't hold each other accountable, to each other's crimes. They don't want to be setting precedents that could then be getting themselves or their friends tied up in court, right? So if you go after your opponent for committing a crime, well, you better hope that your party isn't committing that crime. Oh, by the way, Nancy Pelosi is committing a lot of these financial crimes. Oh, we can't go after the Republicans then for those financial crimes. That's been happening for a long time. We saw it with Barack Obama, George Bush.
Not embrace the Trump sweeping arguments. They did not embrace the lower court's arguments sweeping in the other direction. But this is a major victory for the former President Trump. The language here is highly favorable to him. They even go into his January 6th speech and say that presidents are expected to speak passionately and publicly about issues of importance. This was an issue of great importance, and goes on to say that when the president speaks to the vice president, this is part of the president's official conduct. All of these statements are important because the court is giving navigational beacons for a lower.
So is he saying that Mike Pence was disobeying a direct order by Donald Trump to, of course, not certify the election, and that the Supreme Court, of course, says that that's heinous. It's unbelievable that Mike Pence would do that to the rule of law. My God.
President. This is part of the president's official conduct. All of these statements are important because the court is giving navigational beacons for a lower court judge who has proven very favorable towards the special counsel, very motivated in getting a trial before the election. And these beacons are a bit more narrow than we expected. They're giving some very clear language and a heavy burden for Jack Smith. Now, he's not likely to go quietly into that night.
Yes, physicist, yes. Today, Joe Biden can do executive orders and edicts that would make Caligula smile. And according to the Supreme Court, he is fully immune as long as he's, putting it down on a piece of paper and signing his name that this is an official order of the president. Good to go. He should do that then. That should be the epitaph on the gravestone of the Democratic Party. They should have done that. That would be the perfect succinct epitaph. I think that's what they called, right? That's final statement on the gravestone for the Democratic Party. They should do that then. Yeah, they should. They should have done the Voting Rights Act. They should have solidified Roe v. Wade, solidified abortion into law before the Republicans had an opportunity to destroy it. Ruth Bader Ginsburg should have stepped down in the Obama era so that he could have put a younger judge in place. They should have done that. Yeah, they should. You know what? They should get rid of the filibuster. They should have done that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
But he's going to have a heck of a time trying to satisfy this burden.
Jonathan, thank you for that. Andrew Cherkasky's on set here. Jonathan, you just heard from Jonathan. You heard from Shannon. This is being seen as a major win, not only for the former president himself, but for the Trump campaign. And the timing of all of this, obviously, is crucial.
It's interesting how they're completely avoiding the fact that this is a big, giant win, and they're completely avoiding what's being discussed in the chat, which is like, okay, so this power has been given to Joe Biden as well. You see, the Republicans, the fascists, understand that the neoliberals are going to play by the rules. They are taking advantage of that. It's a classic fascist move. Take advantage of loopholes in democracy. Take advantage of, rules that are not set in stone, but are just, agreed upon by both parties. They've, these legacy agreements, breaking those. We see this with, things like the filibuster and example. There's plenty of examples. So, the entire strategy and the discussion is with the expectation that Joe Biden is not going to touch a single thing about this. He's not going to do a single thing because he's above it. He's better than that. They have embraced a new level of shamelessness. And it's interesting how, I don't think we're going to, maybe we will, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't really hear much pontification on the power that was given to Joe Biden. Because the expectation is that just as the neoliberals have done for the last 40 years plus, before they get ready for the big fight, they tie both hands behind their back and they say, okay, you win. That's how the Democrats have been fighting for the last 40 years. No, I don't like Pete Buttigieg. If I had a choice, it would be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But the realistic choice is Gavin Newsom. But honestly, Gavin Newsom needs to do a little bit more proving to America that he's actually capable of such a thing, because I don't know, the last two performances I've seen of Gavin were less than impressive. But it's all fantasy. There's no point in talking about this because Joe Biden is defiantly ignoring any kind of request to do it and is piling ahead. Penis, 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 penis.
Your reaction?
I think this totally guts Jack Smith's prosecution, and it's something that some of us have seen for a very long time coming. The idea that a president doesn't have this broad, sweeping immunity would create all sorts of issues for presidents in the future and potentially in the past for acts that have been committed in the past. Now, what the court has done is they've essentially created a hierarchy. Those acts that are within the constitutional authority of the president, immune. Those that are official, those perhaps have to go back to lower courts for further analysis. And the court does say unofficial acts have no immunity to it. But
Hunton Chess is asking me if Joe Biden and Donald Trump are enjoying anal sex with each other. Yes. Thank you for your question, Huntington Chess.
I think what we have to look at is that middle category, and it really does break down the idea that at least two of the remaining charges, and last week's case in Fisher likely will eliminate 2 out of the 4 of the charges against Donald Trump right now. So really they have kind of 2 charges left. I think Jack Smith is going to have to go through, probably create a superseding indictment, send that back to the court for their new analysis under this new...
So we've had, what, 200 plus years of American democracy or whatever? And this asshole over here, you know, we've had the entire history of America. Presidents have been accountable to the law, at least technically. And this asshole over here saying it would create all kinds of problems if presidents weren't totally immune to literally all crimes. So just a complete, I mean, just, you know, and he does it with a straight face, sits there, you know, cashes his check, you know, all kinds of problems.
Standard that may go all the way back through the appellate courts, even up to the Supreme Court, to see if the lower court analyzed that correctly before we're ever talking about a trial. So I think that even the idea that this could make it to trial with the little bit that remains, I don't think is likely, because I think this is going to go all the way back through the appellate system.
Jonathan, give me your reaction to that. And also, I want to highlight something you put out in the moments following this.
That's what the Supreme Court just said,
on the no
Miles.
protection for unofficial acts. So the issue is whether...
Yes, Chem Goblin, this can be reversed. I explained earlier, maybe you didn't catch it, but the solution to this problem is for the Democrats to pack the courts, a.k.a. install 3 more judges to the courts. They get to appoint them. They have to appoint an odd amount of judges. They then shop around for a case that would allow them to reverse this in some way. They figure out some way, some judge, something, some friendly judge in California, something that will then get this sent to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court can rule once again on presidential immunity. I don't know how it can happen that way. I don't know. They got to do everything they fucking can, man. This is literally it. This is the end of America. The moment a Republican does this. Joe Biden is a coward. He's not a leader. He's not going to use any of this power to reverse this. You know, I mean, technically he could pass an edict that could reverse this. That would be interesting. He just passes an executive order that says, nope, that's not the case. Wow, wouldn't that be a baller move? Listen to that. Listen to this. Joe Biden passes an executive order that completely disagrees, completely rescinds what the Supreme Court says. So he passes an executive order challenging the ruling of the Supreme Court, causing and that because that means there would be, you know, a review of this executive order, meaning that the Supreme Court would then have to re-rule on presidential immunity. If they agree with their prior ruling, then they would have to agree to rescind the rule and make it illegal once again for presidents to commit crimes as official acts. Wow. You see how that works? The president could pass an executive order saying, nuh-uh, basically, to the Supreme Court. That challenge would then be brought to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court would have to then rule against its own existence. It would basically be like, well, you know, is our previous ruling accurate that presidents can do whatever they want, you know, no matter what the law says, as long as it's an official act, or do we disagree with that so that we can keep our power? Because technically the Supreme Court just destroyed its own power. Technically, the president can pass an edict to arrest members of the Supreme Court if he doesn't like them, and institute new judges. Just, you know, it's an executive order. I can do whatever I want. Well, the law says this. Does that matter? Actually, no, it doesn't. So that's interesting. The president could do an executive order that immediately is challenged in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has to make a decision about whether the Supreme Court has any power at all. Right then and there. Will he? No. We're talking about the neoliberal Democrat. Like I said, he's going to do a speech saying, I'm basically going to ignore this. I'm not going to use any of this power. I'm, you know, all your discussion about what I could do with this and, you know, how I could reverse this and now I can do whatever I want. And I could pass an edict that says, you know, felons are not allowed to run for president. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to sit on this and I'm going to pretend it didn't happen. And then we're going to get back to this, because ultimately what the Democrats desperately want is the status quo that they enjoyed since the start of the Clintonian era in the 90s. They want to go back to this status quo. We pretend to be lefties to the righties. It's back and forth, cyclical. You get a churn, we get a churn. Everyone gets to stuff their pockets, status quo that they want. That's that they have fond memories of that era. You know, what have we seen with Hakeem Jeffries? The reason why he was installed, a continuation of the strategy to bring back a status quo that they're never going to fucking get back. Meanwhile, they should be doing everything they can to stop the rise of fascism, and they're doing nothing about it. I guarantee you, if you were to ask Joe Biden today what he thinks about Lindsey Graham, he would say, honorable, friend, colleague. Even today, this very moment, they have learned nothing.
Or what constitutes official acts. It is very much for Trump in the sense that the court rejected the lower court and recognizes some immunity. That will further delay the lower court proceedings, to Andrew's point, but Trump will have to argue that his actions fall within these navigational beacons. How do you see that playing out specifically?
Well, I think that this goes back with a heavy advantage for Trump on those questions because of the language used by the court. It is clearly telegraphing that there is a heavy presumption here, not just in terms of the general constitutional standard, but this specific case. Many people expected the court to avoid the specifics in the case. It did not. And it left language to guide this court. Now, in terms of how this plays out, even with a judge who's been quite favorable to the special counsel, it's going to be difficult to satisfy this burden, particularly with regard to things like the January 6th speech, which the special counsel has referred to a great deal. Many of us believe
all the president needs to do is sign a paper that says it's justified in locking people up without sentence. It's all, you know, under the guise of security. They'll use some flowery language, put your name on it. It's an official act. Boom, end of motherfucking protest. Bye-bye. Do we think for a motherfucking second during the BLM protest that Trump wouldn't have signed a motherfucking edict that says if we see you in the streets after 5 p.m., your ass is getting hauled off into jail immediately? And unlike what we're seeing now, you know, we're seeing reports about, you know, all these pro-Palestinian protesters, all their charges getting dropped because my volume is lower than normal. Why does this shit always happen when, like, the worst possible time? I'll bring my volume up a bit. I don't want to bring it up too much. No, you're fine, Kanye West. It's probably my goddamn pop filter. I need to clean it. But no, that's, you know, the president can pass. So unlike what we're seeing now with the pro-Palestinian protesters who are getting their charges dropped because they don't have any charges against them because it's legal. It's actually legal to protest in this country still, technically. So unlike what we're seeing now, where the law doesn't have a lot of, they can arrest you and they can pretend like they're going to go after you. But at the end of the day, they don't have a pot to piss in a court of law because protesting's legal. Well, now with this new ruling, a president can just say, no, you were there. You were told explicitly, don't be out there after 6 or 5 or whatever number you want to come up with. You were there. You can't deny that. We picked you up on the streets at 5:01 p.m. outside your house. You're guilty, and if you're guilty of terrorism or attacks against the state, 15 years, 20 years, whatever kind of nonsense you see in Russia right now. Oh, you think, oh, this is crazy. Can't happen here. You're just gonna can't happen here all the way to the motherfucking American gulag, aren't you? Can't happen here. Can't happen here as the fucking bars slam closed. Can't happen here. Happening right now. Only happening right fucking now.
But
it can't.
President Trump was protected entirely in that speech under the First Amendment.
Yes, brother.
The court is...
Please, avenge me. Yeah. Avenge me. No, run for your life. You're fucked.
Saying here that he also may be protected as a point of presidential duties, that it's expected for presidents to be able to speak on these types of issues. So going forward, it's going to get tough because Jack Smith is known as someone who tends to double down on weak hands. I mean, he's not someone that yields readily to a president. That's why he was unanimously overturned in a previous high-profile case. So he's just, what's interesting about this case is that this is following a haymaker
Run to the streets and defend your democracy.
Which could knock out 2 of the 4 counts in D.C., but not necessarily. Justice Jackson gave him a roadmap of how he might still be able to argue obstruction. I wrote a column today saying that if he follows Judge Jackson's advice, I think he will be overturned again. But he may still try to keep this on the runway to take off. I personally think that these 2 opinions have ripped the wings off his case. But Jack Smith is someone who does not readily yield to these types of setbacks.
So they're still pontificating over like, oh, they might still get him. They might still get him for the crimes that he totally committed. They might still be able to get him. Oh no. That's the narrative on Fox. Cool. All right. Well, let's keep the depression going. Let's head on over to Newsmax.
Special counsel to prosecute.
Let's see here. Well, they haven't clipped it yet. All right, never mind. We'll go to One America News. OAN.
2
days ago. Wow, no clips. Okay, wow. Okay. 0 presence, man. Were they kicked off this platform? What are they pretending? Are they trying to pretend like this isn't a relevant platform? You can find us on Fash.com exclusively. Fuck them libs. Yeah, no one's watching. All right, fuck it. Let's just go ahead and Supreme Court this bitch. Get more opinions. I'm not watching BTC, dude. He's a bootlicker. Fox News not even talking about it. Supreme Court rules on Trump immunity case. Give me some tunes. You got the dissent right here. I could read that. It's bad. Yeah, all right. Let's hear what Van Jones has to say. Sure.
The Supreme Court has finally released its ruling on this long-awaited case, saying that Trump has immunity from official acts. In several cases, they cite what official acts may be, but they also leave a number of others open for lower courts to make a final determination on. We're going to be talking a lot about the legal implications of all this. I want to first bring in CNN's Van Jones and Scott Jennings. Van, as you look at this,
hold on. We got a statement from Biden
are
here.
Getting our first reaction from the Biden campaign.
I'm curious
Craig,
about
and it
this.
gives you a sense of their thinking and their strategy moving forward. Let me read you a part of what they say. Quote, today's ruling doesn't change the facts, so let's be very clear about what happened on January 6th. Donald Trump snapped after he lost the 2020 election and encouraged a mob to overthrow the results of a free and fair election.
This is like, yeah, technically true, Joe. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You know, Democrats for decades now have been giving us words instead of accountability. And they really have internalized that it's okay. No, it's okay. We don't need real accountability. We don't need real punishment. We don't need real justice. If we just have stern language and stern words and we call it like we see it, but when we're in charge, we don't hold them accountable, that's okay. And it's still, you know, these guys are taking it to the fucking grave. They've internalized it. You know, to them, this is common sense to them.
Trump is already running for president as a convicted felon for the very same reason he sat idly by while the mob violently attacked the Capitol. He thinks he is above the law and is willing to do anything to gain and hold on to power for himself.
He should have released a 3-word statement and said, pack the courts. Right? And then walk the fuck out, licking ice cream. Instead, it's, but he's a criminal. But he's a criminal. Everyone, don't you know he's a criminal? Yeah, we know. The people voting for him know. They don't fucking care. As if like that's going to, you know what I mean? Like, well, don't they realize he's a criminal? Yeah, they know, Joe. Yeah, they put his mugshot on a t-shirt. They know, Joe. Well, don't they know? They know. You got anything else? No, I got nothing. I thought shaming them was going to work. I was putting all my eggs in the shaming basket. I don't know what to do now. I'm a feckless leader. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. They know, Joe. Now what? I got nothing. I just want to be remembered as America's president, but I don't want to be a leader and make decisions on hard things. Didn't you know good things are good?
That is significant. Why? Because, of course, that's been the crux of President Biden's argument for why he deserves another 4 years in office. He has tried to cast Trump as a threat to the nation's democracy, as someone who potentially runs the risk of carrying out yet another January 6th. And so it is clear that Democrats are doubling down on that argument and digging into that argument. But therein,
why would you be digging it? It's like a positive to them. You know, Republicans are hearing that like, oh, yeah, good. We'll do January 6th again. We'll do it right this time.
Lies the crux of the crisis within the Democratic Party, that in the wake of that devastating debate performance by President Biden, questions swirling, outright panic within the Democratic Party about whether President Biden is the best messenger, the best person to take on this fight. I can tell you privately, Democrats are expressing concerns.
MSNBC and NBC over here pushing this hard. They desperately want this as part of the narrative, right? Because it's not about America. It's not about what works or what doesn't work. Or, I mean, you know, it's just they are attached at the hip to the DNC political machine. and their knee-jerk reactions, these are the knee-jerk reactions happening right now in the DNC discussion rooms right now, right, in the boardrooms and meeting rooms and stuff, in the Zoom meetings. Their knee-jerk reaction is MSNBC's reaction and NBC's.
Person saying to me he cannot win, another saying this race is effectively over. So of course the questions become, would he step down? That process incredibly difficult, incredibly challenging. And again, right now we have seen a defiant.
I thought he was going to die over, when the debate was over. I was really thinking in my head, is this guy going to kick the fucking bucket? He's got zero energy. But then I started seeing videos of him doing the shimmy shake and dapping motherfuckers, slapping hands at the Waffle House. I'm like, what the fuck? Where did you come from? You look like you needed a nap. And he's like, yeah, I did pretty good at the debate, huh? Let's just celebrate the Waffle House. Where'd you come from?
President Biden or Kelly O'Donnell reporting that sources inside the campaign are considering potentially more interviews, more public visibility.
I thought he was gonna
die. That is really the crux of this crisis.
Hey, thanks so much. Remember when I sharted in my pants and it was a news story for a month? I'll never forget it. You traumatized me, Al Roker. You traumatized me. Let's get some more Fox reaction just because I hate myself.
Sure. Sorry to cut you off. We're going back to Lydia. We have a ruling on immunity. Lydia, what do you got?
Yeah, Ash, this is the big one we've had all eyes on right now. We're getting this just in. Former President Donald Trump from the Supreme Court of the United States does have immunity, and it appears that the decision is limited to his official acts. Remember, a big question after the lower courts in the District of Columbia decided that the former president had no immunity across the board. Would the Supreme Court come back and say, wait a second, we can so-called split the baby? He has immunity for some acts, not others. Official acts, perhaps, not immunity for unofficial acts. Again, Ash, we're just getting this opinion in from the Supreme Court of the United States, but it does appear at this moment that former President Donald Trump, they have decided he would have immunity for official acts that he carried out. So now what would happen is that the case would be remanded.
And they're just totally framing it from they're like they're not warning you. You would think they'd want to warn their audience, like, whoa, dude, woo, woo, like, oh, Joe Biden has just been turned into a dictator. Joe Biden can do whatever the hell he wants now to political opponents. They're not worried about it one bit because they know the enemy that they've been fighting for decades has both hands tied behind their back, whatever the motivation may be, whether they're true believers in that strategy or whether they're cynical and this is the game that they're playing. Doesn't matter what the motivations are. The actions are clear. Don't fight. Don't use the tools that are on the table. Don't play the game that's on the fucking table. Play this fantasy West Wing fucking version in your own head. Oh, we can't get rid of the filibuster. What about the founding fathers? We got to let Mitch McConnell completely stymie our entire agenda for all 4 years. We have no choice. What would the founding fathers say? They're pathetic, and they always have been. And they're seemingly, even though some of them are fully aware of the situation, they're going down with the ship with this mentality.
Back down to the lower courts. The lower court trial judges would read this opinion, and they would have to decide what happened around the events of January 6th that would qualify as an official act such that President Trump would have immunity from the prosecution brought by special counsel Jack Smith. Ash.
So, it's so funny because it's all framed around how is this affecting Trump? Can Trump still go to jail? Oh, Jack Smith could still, this is going to go back to the lower courts, and Jack Smith now back in his lap. Now he's going to have to try, and Donald Trump is going to have to try to lie his way into saying that that committing a coup was an official act. Let's hope he does it. That's kind of the framing. Like, okay, let's do one for the Gipper. The healthy dose of idiocracy. I keep telling this to people, dude. Idiocracy, I would love idiocracy to be what's happening right now. The entire plot of that movie is that a bunch of stupid people found the smartest person on planet Earth and said, you know, you lead the show. You do it. Camacho, one of the stupidest, you know, most, you know, ostentatious presidents in American history, said, oh, you're actually smart. Can you do my job? Can you be put in charge? I would love idiocracy right now. I would love it. Let's hear what Trump had to say.
Justices. I want to get you a little bit of developing news coming into us in literally the last 30 seconds as you were tossing to me here. We are hearing now for the first time from the former president himself on his Truth Social platform. I'm going to read you his full post. It is short. It appears to be a reaction, obviously, to this decision that is out today. Yeah. He says, big win for our Constitution and democracy. Proud to be an American. That's it. Those two sentences. Obviously, this question of whether it is, in fact, a big win for him.
It's so succinctly Orwellian. Big win for the Constitution. The entire statement, as succinct as it is, it gives me shivers. You know, this is now what is constitutional.
Is out today. He says, big win for our Constitution and democracy. Proud to be an American. That's it. Those two sentences. Obviously, this question of whether it is, in fact, a big win for him is one that we are continuing to sift through. It is clearly at least a partial victory simply based on, as it sounds like, the timing of this issue here. And what's interesting here is what the former president is talking about gets at what we're seeing in this decision itself, the back and forth from some of the justices. For example, the liberals who dissented here, one of them, Justice Sotomayor, says that this decision makes a mockery of the principle foundational to our Constitution and our system of government that no man is above the law. And you are seeing in some of the liberal dissent this suggestion that the majority gave Donald Trump everything he wanted here. Now, obviously, the Chief Justice is pushing back on that, saying that that is not the case, that the assertion that the former president's team made went far beyond what the court ended up giving him. But the bottom line is this: the former president is interpreting this as a victory. As for your question on how this impacts the race and the central argument that the president has been making, President Biden against former President Trump, you're exactly.
It was unfortunate, but it's true. David Frum pointed out that when Republicans can no longer win with democracy, they're not going to change their party. They're going to change democracy. This is that entire observation writ large. This is it. This is the you know, and it's all fun and games, right? Because like this is all we've ever known. You know, there's a lot of us that cannot even fathom this changing. Like, you know, and it's like, oh well, you know, women and their wombs. That's always been up for grabs, right? You know, oh come on, you know. But you know, do you think the end of liberty and personal body autonomy ends with abortion? The Supreme Court just said the president can say anal sex bad. Put that shit on a piece of paper, and then there you go. You're now breaking the law, making love to your husband. Oh, they'll never do it. Can't happen here. Can't happen here. It just happened.
Exactly correct that this is part and parcel of the character case, of the fitness case.
Oh, you're being hyperbolic, except the mountain of evidence of Republicans who are theocrats and want to ban anal sex and want to ban homosexuality in general. Oh, but no. Someone who's appealing to that crowd would never do something like that. You know, it's funny because I bring that up, but you know what? Donald Trump only needs these idiots, these MAGAs, these evangelicals, these religious people. He only needs them to win this. According to the Supreme Court, once he's in office, Donald Trump no longer needs anybody. Donald Trump can do whatever he wants, right? And that means he can do whatever he wants to America's farmers. He could do whatever he wants to America's low-wage workers all across the right-wing areas all across America. This is, you know, he only needs these rubes to get into office. But then once he's there and he has this kind of ultimate power, he doesn't need these people. And his previous administration was showing. Like, remember the famous statement was like, after a massive gun massacre, he was like, yeah, we're looking into it. We got to ban some of these guns. Like, he kind of slipped it out that, oh yeah, we got to do something about it. I mean, the gloves are off. Your liberties are no longer important. It is now the whim of this narcissistic monster, this carnival barker, gone completely out of control. What we need is bold action and leadership from the neoliberal establishment, especially Joe Biden. So it's that bad. It's that bad. I do think it's very possible the neoliberals take this right into the grave, right into oblivion.
That the Biden team has been making here. You have heard some real criticism from top Democrats about the fact that they believe the Supreme Court took this case up, took as long as it did to get through it, waited until the very last day to come out and put this decision forward when there has been a sense of urgency, they believe, on this. And you have seen this consistently ever since, March, when this first came up here. This frustration with the way that the court has decided here. You're seeing it in some of the liberal dissent. You're seeing it from those previous conversations and those previous statements from Democrats, fits into where the Biden camp has been on this all along. They have, remember, January 6th, they have tried to press this case. The topic of January 6th was one of just a few ads that the Biden camp put forward during that obviously highly watched debate on Thursday night, trying to make the case that because of what Donald Trump did in and around the 2020 election, in and around the insurrection on the Capitol, makes him disqualified to serve in office. The former president has downplayed this. In that same debate, he...
Yeah, okay, that's old news. We know that's what's going on. Watch this stupid man. Well, let's... Okay. So they got Van Jones. Is this guy pro? I think this guy's Republican over here on the left. He's the sensible Republican that CNN trots out to both sides this. I'm kind of curious to see how this goes down. All right, let's watch it, but let's do it at 1.25. I don't want to watch this at full speed.
Well, it's a very concerning outcome. There's a maxim that says in law, bad facts create bad law. So when you have somebody doing stuff that's so terrible, the stuff that Trump did in office, it creates these bad facts. The court has to come in and figure out what to do about it. It often creates bad law. Basically, the question is, Supreme Court, do you more care about the unlawful conduct of a sitting president or possibly the unfair prosecution of a former president? That's really what they have to balance. They're obviously more concerned about the latter. And so I think politically, it's bad. It makes the Supreme Court look very partisan. They're supposed to be wearing these kind of black and white umpire jerseys.
I mean, it's you know what he looks like, the body language. And I know this is sped up and that's not helping, but it looks like it's like Nancy Pelosi has a pistol right to his back, and the moment he points out how ineffectual the neoliberal party is, she's gonna fucking pull the trigger. Right? She told him, like, right before the interview, you fucking say anything about the fucking DNC or the neoliberals or Joe Biden, I'm gonna fucking pull the trigger. Like he's like tiptoeing around, like, oh, this is really bad. Like, how about you tell us the truth, Van Jones?
Jerseys or whatever, they look like they're wearing red jerseys or even MAGA hats. It's going to go down bad politically.
Just slow it down a bit.
It's also scary because
it's like he's out of breath or something. It's like he's really worried about saying the wrong thing.
What is Trump going to do if Trump gets elected and there's this idea that he can get away with even more stuff? That's really, really scary for the public because he already ran over every norm that he could. So it seems like, look at this politically, not legally, politically, it's almost like a license to thug in a way. Like, you can do whatever you want, and the Supreme Court is probably going to let you get away with it. That is very frightening
up on him
in this case. And so I'm very, very concerned.
Scott Jennings, Justice Sotomayor, in her dissent, essentially makes that argument, saying the main takeaway of today's decision is that all of a president's official acts defined without regard to motive or intent are entitled to immunity that is at least presumptive and quite possibly absolute.
Yeah, look, I think there's some amount of overreaction here. I mean, after all, they did kick it back down to the lower court, so some decisions could be.
So here the downplaying, the not that big a deal. You know, let's not be hyperbolic. Let's not fantasize about what is totally, absolutely a possibility now, that is absolutely on the table now. Oh, let's not go there. We're dealing with honorable people that just want to fix America, you know. This guy would say with a straight face to your fucking face that Donald Trump wants to drain the swamp, right? Even now. My God, even now.
Made about differentiating between official and private acts. But look, this court has stood up for the office of the presidency and the executive power of the presidency in a way that, you know, may be of some benefit to future presidents. I mean, we're looking at this through the lens of Donald Trump, but, you know, the President of the United States has a lot of power for a reason. And they do take a lot of official actions. And I think about a future.
So once again, the entire history of America where a president was accountable to the law. And, you know, we've been, some would say, a pretty successful country. We're just supposed to completely ignore that. And is Anderson Cooper just going to completely ignore that and let this blowhard get away with saying this shit? He can't even throw out a little comment like, I don't know, we've been kind of successful so far, wouldn't you say? You know, our entire existence when presidents have been accountable. This whole canard that, oh, man, you're going to have all kinds of problems if presidents aren't kings. Oh, man, can you believe what would happen if a president wasn't king? Yeah, well, we might have, you know, the last 200 years of prosperity, you know, generally speaking. You know, obviously I understand things are not great for a lot of Americans, yada, yada, yada. We talk about it every day. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's America's at the top of the fucking heap. We got the bigger guns. We got the dollar. Still, you know, technically number one in a lot of the metrics where it matters in terms of geopolitics. Pretty goddamn successful. But, oh, man, what would happen? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Gee, can you imagine the chaos that would happen? Yeah, the last 200 years.
Where, you know, if it was open season on presidents for time immemorial, you know, what action would any president ever take out of fear of being dragged into a courtroom every time they?
No, we've only. And is any of you clowns going to point this out? We've only had the entire history of the United States so far. Oh, can you imagine the craziness?
Did it. So I hear Van, and I think there's interesting arguments on both sides of this today. I've listened to some of you know, arguments like what Van has made. But at the same time, I do think the office deserves a lot of protection and a lot of deference because of the special place that it holds in our system. So I'm okay with it, especially because I think a lower court may have decisions to make in the future, of course, depending on the outcome of the election in November.
But Van, just to be clear, even if a lower court makes a ruling, then that can, because what the Supreme Court says is that can be appealed ultimately back to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, look, I think the Supreme Court is really hurting itself here. I mean, I think most Americans on either side would.
The Supreme Court just made itself irrelevant and just said, no, there's a higher legal body in this world. It's Donald fucking Trump or whoever sits in that seat. But they know Joe Biden's a coward. Those justices know. They know that the DNC isn't going to use any of this dictatorial power that they're given to them. And they think they're there to be partisans for a political party. So I guess they're okay. They're okay being like, yep, no, we're putting a body above us. Unbelievable. It's no longer the Supreme Court.
Would have preferred us getting some kind of finality around these cases. And what you see is the Supreme Court just dragging this out and dragging this out. They could have weighed in on all this stuff back in March and cleared the decks on this one way or the other. They didn't. They say, go through the whole process and you come back up here. Then they wait 60 plus days past the buzzer to give us this decision. The way it's structured, this thing is going to ping pong back and forth for 3 or 4 more years, maybe. It seems like they're doing Donald Trump a favor when they don't have to.
That's the least of our fucking problems, Van Jones. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we're not. Oh, no. Can you believe we might go this whole election not knowing Donald Trump is a convicted criminal? It doesn't fucking matter, dude. Oh no! What are we hinging our bets on Donald Trump being disqualified from this?
The ruling does seem to be much more concerned about unleashing the presidency than constraining the presidency. That's fine,
I like your
except
Supreme Court
that
physicist.
there's a different balance here. Now you're concerned about a renegade president. Are you concerned about a renegade president prosecuting someone unfairly after the
look for
fact,
one more video
or
here.
acting like a rogue or a thug in
So
office?
pathetic.
It's not clear what's the greater threat to the republic, and it doesn't seem like the majority really has taken as seriously the concern of half the country about renegade presidencies in the office. I think the Supreme Court is hurting its.
You ready to do this? You ready to stick that hot poker all the way up? You thought it was painful before? You thought we were just you thought okay, that's okay, we're done. I mean, Van Jones is that's it. That's the mediocrity. Okay. Welcome to your fucking nightmare. Glenn Beck.
Big news and riots coming out of
interviewing Alan
France
Dershowitz
this weekend. We haven't even had a chance to talk about that, but we will. But in Paris right now is Alan Dershowitz. He's getting ready to get up on stage and speak, but we wanted to take just a couple of minutes. The decision on Trump immunity, or actually it's presidential immunity, came down, and I...
Cute, isn't it? You catch that little Freudian slip there? Isn't that adorable? The reason why they're celebrating, the entire thing hinges on Joe Biden being an ineffectual coward, being a terrible leader who they know is going to play by the rules. And once again, this is how fascists operate. We'll play it again. This is how fascists operate. They find all the loopholes in the democracy. They find all the little exceptions. Let's not forget how the Nazi Party got into power by a technicality, by utilizing a technicality that basically said if you don't vote, it immediately triggers another election. They did it like 4 times, each time getting a larger and larger bit of the majority. It's just an example of how fascists operate. They find the weaknesses in democracy and open them wide open, shamelessly. Well, there's no law in the book. Technically, we can do this. Technically, we can do this. Oh, well, it flies against the entire concept of America. It only makes you look like an unpatriotic traitor. Well, that's just your opinion. Let's listen to this again.
We will, but in Paris right now is Alan Dershowitz. He's getting ready to get up on stage and speak, but we wanted to take just a couple of minutes. The decision on Trump immunity, or actually it's presidential immunity.
So there it is right there one more time. Trump, it's presidential immunity. But we don't need to worry about that because we know Joe Biden's a weak leader and we can totally take advantage of his milquetoast leadership style to install our fascist dictatorship and get what we want. So we could totally plan around the incompetence of Joe Biden. We certainly don't need to be afraid of Joe Biden doing anything that we would do. You know, we've embraced shamelessness on a level that no one else it's like a superpower, right? They really do consider it. You know, they would never admit it, but it's like, no, I'm more shameless than you. I can eat more shit and I can dig down in here and I'm more dirty. They think it's a superpower. And they're like, no, the Democrats, they're still worried about the legacy of America and democracy and Constitution. This is MAGA, baby. This is fascism. This is what's happening. Authoritarian dictatorship. We're going for it. January 6th was just a rehearsal. We want it. We reached for the brass ring and we almost got it. Now we got to reach again and we're going to do it this time, big time.
He came down, and I think it's a win for the Republic. I think that's the way I would have ruled. It was 9-3. Alan, any thoughts on it? And what it says?
You know, I'm in Paris, speaking to you from the place of riots and demonstrations. I'm not part of that.
Jeez.
But I predicted exactly this decision in my book, Get Trump. I said that neither side.
The right wingers are clutching pearls at the left wingers who are rioting. I mean, technically, it probably is a riot because that's how French lefties fucking protest, right? They'll tip over some cars. It happens on a pretty usual basis. But of course, the right wing is very busy fear mongering. Oh, here it is. This is Antifa taking over your country. This is what it looks like. They're not going to stop. You know, they're really not going to stop. This fascist project, you know, is not going to. It might very well end in some kind of major conflagration of some sort, some major. Because, like, you know, this ideology, this idea it's not old, but it's been reformatted for the modern era, for the modern conservative. This MAGA template, you know, it may require some kind of major war, some kind of major violent conflict for MAGA, for the MAGA ideology to you know, to be successfully pushed back on. And of course, it's not like we want anything to be violent, but it's like they will bring violence to us, as we described, right? Like if Donald Trump had these powers during his presidency and the BLM protests happened, he would say protesting is illegal, and then people would protest anyway, and then it would get violent. Whether we like it or not, violence will be brought upon us.
Would have a complete victory, and that the Supreme Court would rule 6-3 that if it's well within the authority of the president, he has immunity. But if it's outside the authority, and now the question is which is which, and does it have to go back to the trial court to determine whether the indictment alleges things that are covered by immunity?
Yeah. They're covering it here. I want to hear what is up with this face. Do you have an air conditioning in there? Why are you so red? Is it, people would say booze and whatnot, and maybe it is booze, but Jesus Christ, I feel like his heart is like do. Is it warm in there? All right, let's hear one more from fucking Glenn Puke.
Right. So that's a win for Donald Trump. But is this a win for the Republic? Because we can't have one of the branches going after the other branch.
Listen to this fascist pretend that he cares about about America and American democracy and the separation of the three branches of government. Wow. We're still, so you still defend that, right? While you're defending the Supreme Court and saying it's a good move, it's helping. Okay, all right. Let's see where this goes.
And then we also can't have people dragging the president into the courtroom for.
By the way, there's, once again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. There's actually already the Supreme Court already ruled on this. Someone tried to like drag the president into like divorce court, and the Supreme Court said no. The president is immune from small claims. But, you know, federal crimes, murder, capital crimes, the president is, of course, you know, they didn't rule on that. But, you know, so this whole fantasy, you know, oh, we're going to have chaos like we've had for the last 200 years of our history. Oh, man, anyone could, didn't you know you could have just sued the president and dragged him into court for no reason? Oh, yeah. No, you couldn't. But, of course, the truth doesn't matter. It hasn't mattered for quite some time.
One of the branches going after the other branch, and then we also
which is absolutely what Donald Trump promises he's going to do. You know, well, they came after me. Oh, they attacked their political opponents, so I'm going to go after my political opponents the moment I get to be the right to. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to go after everybody. You don't like me? Indicted. He basically says that shit in a stump speech.
Can't have people dragging the president into the courtroom for everything that he does. He's got.
Oh, by the way, I always have to do this disclaimer. Alan Dershowitz was a well-known member of Jeffrey Epstein's, Lolita Express travels, and he was also on the island quite a bit. We have no hard evidence, but Alan Dershowitz spent a lot of time with Jeffrey Epstein and was definitely on those flight logs, along with Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and I don't know. Let's just make one up. Jeremy Renner. Can you believe that? Jeremy Renner. Let's just make one up, and then we can actually get the news. We'll insert some fake shit into it. Marvel's Hawkeye on Jeremy Epstein's plane. John Stamos, Mr. Burns. Well, that's all. See, it's all too believable. We got to spread some fake news. That's just like, oh, can you believe it? I thought he was a nice guy. I mean, everyone knows Mr. Burns hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, come on. John Stamos. I mean, John Stamos is a right winger, so that just makes sense. I don't know. We got to look it up. John Stamos might be on there. Captain Kangaroo. Oh no! The Dirge was there so often, like it was there felt when he lived with small periods of time after singing the logs.
To have immunity on official stuff, right? But where's the?
I agree.
Do you agree with this line?
Yeah, I agree with the line in general, but I think
I agree. No, you don't get both, Alan. And this is why Alan is such a clown, because he basically said, yeah, I agree. President's fully immune. Yep, Supreme Court's correct. Glenn Beck goes, okay, but you do agree with some kind of separation of powers. Oh, I totally agree. Yep, totally agree. Yep. Well, which one is it, Alan? You clown.
it's going to be hard to implement in practice because everything the president does, he does as president. That's very hard to separate out private acts from public acts. But, you know, for example, the president orders the targeted assassination of Soleimani. Surely he has to be immune for any prosecution for that.
What's the difference? But I mean, we've already had Barack Obama was the first American president to assassinate an American and not receive any kind of, justice for that, any kind of accountability whatsoever. So is the difference that, oh well, they're an American, they're brown, and they speak two languages, and they were their parents were Iranian born, and they moved over here and they had an anchor baby, then they moved back to Iran. So he had citizenship, but he's not a real citizen. Huh. And you think, and we're also, and full-blown immunity, court says you can do whatever we want, and the president, and we're just going to believe that the president isn't going to take this any farther, huh? Just out of the kindness of his heart, huh? We are the fools.
But what if the president, orders troops to have a coup d'etat and keep him in office, hypothetically? He probably shouldn't get immunity for that.
But Alan, we've set up a system where it doesn't. You see, but Alan, don't you see? Oh well, the system will find the president guilty for an unofficial act for using the army in a coup. No, the president, using his extrajudicial powers, is then going to arrest anybody involved in the investigation, any politician involved in raising an investigation into these crimes. Oh, you're hauled away. You're hauled away. Oh, okay. Oh, we're raising an investigation and you hauling away all these people. We're gonna do an investigation about these being unofficial acts. Hauled away, hauled away, hauled away, hauled away. And the only ones are left are like, yes, man. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, no, you're immune from everything, and we love you. Ah, that's what I wanted to hear. That's great. Yeah. So no more trying to try me in a court of law to define what is and isn't an official act, right? Yeah, no, we're not going to do that anymore. No way, no way. Alan, that's what's been set up here, Alan. You don't get your cake and eat it too. You don't destroy the motherfucking foundation of our justice system and then expect that justice system to still provide justice, Alan. Professor Emeritus of pedophilia on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, Alan Dershowitz. I still get to be on TV. I got my back rubbed by a 14-year-old. Yeah, I'm still on TV every day. Who's the idiot now, huh, America?
Orders troops to have a coup d'etat and keep him in office, hypothetically. He probably shouldn't get immunity for that. So I do think that this seems like the right line. And now the problem is it's going to be implemented by the lower courts, and the lower courts of the District of Columbia are completely biased against Trump. So,
Nematode, you're assuming that I believe Barack Obama should have received the immunity that he did. I wanted Barack Obama to go after George Bush for the crimes that he committed in office, and I wanted Donald Trump to go after Barack Obama for the crimes that he committed while being in office, including the drone strikes that you just described. Do you not understand how the failure to then to hold these presidents accountable has led to this moment where the Supreme Court has said presidents are now kings? Because they were functionally already, basically, but now the gloves are fucking off. So please don't assume and inject whataboutism into this argument. Oh, well, the liberals want presidents to be kings too. It benefits them. I don't know what everyone's bitching about. I don't know what everyone's bitching about. Oh, Joe Biden gets to be a king. All it takes is one guy to say, I'm king for life. Elections are done. We're not doing them anymore. If you disagree with me, I fuck you up. And, oh, look at this. Oh, I put my name on a little piece of paper, and it's official. Look at this. Wow, look at that. Bop, bop, official, bop, official, bop, official. Don't like it, suck my dick. Bop, bop, bop. The Supreme Court said the president can end elections, can pass an edict that can end elections, official executive order. Oh, what do we do? Well, I guess we're going to do an investigation, and this is going to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's going to find that this is an unofficial act, and Jack Smith's going to get him. Except, how is Jack Smith going to do that when his ass is in a motherfucking jail cell? How? Alan?
It may come back to the Supreme Court. This may not be the last word.
See, that's what he's like. Oh, no, it may come back to the Supreme Court. The system's just going to continue to exist. We've opened the trap door on the system, and the whole foundation is collapsed. But we could still expect the strength and stability of this system to come through. Which one is it, Alan?
Yes.
Any thoughts before we let you go? So I know you have to get to the stage. Any thoughts at all on
run back to Jeffrey
what
Epstein Island.
Should be happening with the president on stepping down? I don't know how you could say he should step down from the campaign and not as president. What's the right thing to do?
Okay, we're not even flirting with this. We're not even touching a discussion with Alan Dershowitz about why Joe Biden needs to stop running for president. I don't even know what would, I'm still on the fence on whether switching it out with a Pete Buttigieg or a Gavin Newsom is even a good idea. Rad Lurk, thank you for that follow. He's just a big Kamala fan, yeah. You're funny, Undermine. Let's get another one from MSN. Wait, here we go. Nicole, let's get one from Nicole Wallace 11 minutes ago. Yeah, we beat you to it, Nicole. She's all here stealing my headline. American president is a king. Yeah, well, there you go again. More examples of MSNBC watching the news underground and straight up copying my ass. I'm going to sue him one of these days. I'm going to do it.
A dissent. Again, it's a fork in the road moment. Sometimes it's hard to feel that in a cable news cycle, but when I read her dissent, I felt it. And I want to ask you if this provides an alternate history for Nixon. I mean, why would Nixon have had to leave office? It sounds like
wow, really, Nicole Wallace getting in on the big important part of the story there, Nicole. What would Nixon do? I was sitting there I was sitting in my mansion eating the brunch that my cook had prepared for me, and I was thinking to myself, what would Nixon do? Nicole Wallace, America's treasure, America's journalistic treasure, never changed, Nicole.
Distinguishing the president's official actions from his unofficial ones can be difficult. When the president acts pursuant to constitutional and statutory authority, he takes official action to perform the functions of his office. Determining whether an action is covered by immunity thus begins with assessing the president's authority to take that action. So, Andrew.
Daughter of Mike Wallace, huh? I mean, Mike Wallace wasn't some journalistic hero, but, just because of the era that he grew up in, he has more journalism in his legacy than Nicole Wallace has, in her entire career easily.
Of the 4 counts facing Donald Trump from Jack Smith, we could talk about the other cases in a moment, Which do you think are likely to survive?
Well, it remains to be seen. I mean, I think the issue here is what evidence will survive, rather than it's possible that all 4 counts will survive, but not the panoply of evidence that Jack Smith wanted to introduce. And so I think if you step back, one of the things that we always thought going into today's decision that Donald Trump would not have a criminal trial with respect to the January 6 events before the general election, that this decision was held so long, and now you see why, because they had 6 justices very much leaning in his favor. And so just the delay factor meant that that wasn't going to happen. But one thing that is clear is there will be a factual hearing that Judge Chutkan will be able to hold with respect to dividing official from unofficial activity. And so I think it's really a question of what evidence will be allowed. But as Lisa Rubin pointed out, certain things are off the table. So
it's not happening before the election. Everything is, everything needs to be reviewed now. Literally every single shred of evidence in every single case needs to be reviewed under the auspices of, is it official or unofficial acts that were committed outside or inside. It's all dukified. It's the enshittification of our fucking Justice Department.
A break, because we have word that the Supreme Court has issued a ruling on the extent of presidential immunity.
So the big room, it's still relevant at this stage because we have a president that is not going to use these extrajudicial powers that were just given to him. But once we have a, fascistic Republican in charge, then all of this becomes wildly irrelevant. Acts committed as official or unofficial, it doesn't matter, because you could literally just pass an official act that says anything I do is official. There you go, bitch. Come on, bitch, come after me. I got this magic notepad that says, I'm Mr. President. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I am a god. Bop, bop, bop. I am Zeus. I'm gonna cut open my sister after I... Okay, wait, we won't get into that. Sorry.
From criminal prosecution for conduct alleged to involve official acts during the tenure of President Trump. This is the big one we've been waiting for. It's consequential. It's really interesting that the Supreme Court in 248 years of our history has never actually ruled on this. So it is big and sweeping, and I have our political...
Yeah, the reason why the Supreme Court has never ruled on whether presidents are kings is because it's a foundational element of the document that they're using, that they're interpreting, the Constitution, right? So it's one of those, inalienable things, untouched, obvious, like this, the whole goddamn narrative throughout the whole weaving throughout the whole goddamn document is, men are not kings, men are not gods. God is not running government. Kings are not running government, and then the rest of the document kind of works out how that works, how the separation works, how the how the whole system works, right? So welcome back. Greetings from south of Boston. It's your boy Lenny, number one consumer safety streamer on Twitch. Lenny. accidentswaitingtohappen.com. Lost my train of thought every goddamn time. I gotta stop smoking that fucking weed. Get back.
Political panel looking over this right now. Andy McCarthy, Chief Justice John Roberts has the writing on this.
Just to conclude what I was saying, the reason why they've never interpreted it in our entire history, once again, is that it's the foundational goddamn concept of the whole document. So to rule against it is to say that the Constitution's irrelevant. Presidents are kings. If the president decrees it to be true, it is true.
He's got the pen. Is that significant?
It's very significant. It's the most important case of the term in terms of the long-term interests of the executive branch in terms of the short-term interests of Donald Trump. And it looks like, at least within the bounds of clear executive authority, what Chief Justice Roberts is saying is that the president clearly has immunity from prosecution. So the question is going to be, again, I think Trey underscored this before, is what is an official act? There's going to be a lot of litigation about that, and what's close to the core of clear executive constitutional authority.
And once again, the assumption is that this system, this underlying system of double checking what is and isn't an official act, is going to exist once the president has taken the gloves off and is just, like I said, throwing around executive orders like they're in Shinobi. You know, it's you know, well, why, you know, because Donald Trump, it'd be a 5-minute decision. Why don't we just go after? Aren't I the president? Can I do whatever I want? How come I can't just go after Jack Smith and arrest him on charges? Sir, there's actually nothing stopping you from doing that. You are able to do that if you. All you would need to do is sign an executive order that says Jack Smith is an enemy of the state and needs to be arrested immediately. So anyway, I've finished signing that executive order. Go ahead and make that happen. Make the announcement today. Go ahead and arrest Jack Smith. I'll do a little interview with Hannity tonight and explain to him and the American people why this is a good thing. Yeah, okay, no problem, sir. We'll go ahead and get him arrested right away. That's literally how it's going to go down, folks. But, you know, and like we actually have eyewitness, you know, we have countless eyewitness, not countless, but we have dozens of witnesses from inside the Oval Office when Trump was in charge about how he would do business. He would ask, you know, how come we can't just nuke North Korea? How come we can't just, you know, how come we can't just nuke a hurricane? How come we can't just, you know, make protesting illegal and stop all these BLM rioters from ruining my life? How come we can't do that? You know, he would just ask, you know, how come I'm not a dictator? How come I can't just do whatever the hell I want? I thought I was the boss around here. So now the answer is going to be, well, sir, technically, as long as it's an official order, as long as it's in executive order, you are free to do whatever you wish, sir. Oh, great. Okay, great. Well, there you go. I'm just going to go ahead and do I need you to be here, or can I just go ahead and just govern from executive order every single thing I want? Just stand in front of a mic and say, this is an executive order, that's an executive. Here, you, jackass, write this down. Executive order, a Diet Coke is free for Donald Trump. I get Diet Coke all day. It's free for me. Executive order. Look at that. I'm a goddamn genius. It's great.
Versus the outer ambit of it.
Brett?
Do we have Shannon? Is she going through the paperwork? Shannon, you there?
Yes. Yes, I am here, if you can hear me. Let me read you a little bit of what we have from the court. It does find this. Under our constitutional structure of separated powers, the nature of presidential power entitles a former president to absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for actions within his conclusive and preclusive constitutional authority. He is entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for all his official acts. There is no immunity for unofficial acts. That's the first blush we've.
And it's just all that unofficial act, official act stuff is, you know, as it was said in the chat there, it's kind of a bone thrown to the proletariat, to us serfs, right? And this is, and Fox News is applying it to our concerns like a salve. Oh, don't worry. It's just about official versus unofficial. Don't worry. No, everything's the same. Everything's the same. Everything, you know, your liberties are still secure. The president isn't a king, and no, he's just, it's okay, baby. It's okay, baby. All right, so you can expect a whole lot. And there's a bunch of other stuff I need to be talking about. It's Canada Day today, apparently. You know, I should be celebrating that. I'm going to take the wife out to a Canada Day celebration. I think it's Canada Day, or it's our 4th of July or something. Everyone has the day off today, and there's a celebration. So I should be doing that. Steve Bannon has been arrested. He's in jail. Steve Bannon is sitting in a jail cell right now. You know, the Supreme Court passed a bunch of other laws that basically has given the corporations the ability to poison away, to go completely nuts with poisoning, you know, going crazy with our regulatory agencies. Now our regulatory agencies are not allowed to set certain rules. Every rule is now on the table for, and the multi-billion-dollar corporations are already suing and getting cases to the court to challenge regulations so that they have the right to poison us more. There's so much news happening. There's so much. It's all fucked up, man. I can't. Look, we can't be nihilistic. I'm abandoned nihilism for a reason, but I can't lie to you. Shit is completely fucked right now. In a really, really serious way. I got nothing else to really say to you right now, but shit is totally wackadoodle. And by God, the only thing that can fix this is the 3-step program, is political activism. That is literally all we have. You have to get off the fucking couch. Please. Step 1, inform yourself. Step 2, put your name down. Do it today. Search into Google. I got a link right here in that repeats in the chat. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Support reproductive rights. Here it is. Become a political activist right now. Here's just a list of groups you can join right now. Volunteer. They're planning marches. They're whatever it is. If you don't like any of these, just type into Google. Just please, for the love of God. This is it. 0 hour, We got months. Until the end of this election. Who's winning? The fascists. The right wing is winning. It's, we got Donald Trump, one of the worst American presidents in American history, promising nothing but chaos and division. And versus neoliberal corporatism. It's I gotta stop smoking weed. I constantly, as soon as I get thrown off out of track, I lose my train of thought. We're not talking about Ukraine, Russia right now. I mean, technically, I think it's safe to say the Ukraine-Russia conflict is that Ukraine is technically pushing Russia back, ever so slowly, ever so carefully, ever so strategically. Technically, the current winners of the war is Ukraine, in terms of who's winning on the battlefield, who's winning on the front line. The moment the tap is turned off for Ukraine, that changes. So, but no, man, this is it, dude. Like I said before, I think that would actually be a rather novel solution for the president to pass to sign an executive order that disagrees with this Supreme Court ruling, allowing that to then go through the lower courts, because it would be challenged. It's like, well, is this an official act or unofficial act? Allowing that to go through the courts and then go back to the Supreme Court, who then has to decide, are we wrong or are we right? Put it right back in the Supreme Court's lap. Do you agree with your previous ruling that you're powerless and I get to do whatever the hell I want to you, the Supreme Court? Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's a trap. Put it right back in their lap. Say, yep, nope. Presidents are kings and this body is totally irrelevant and powerless. And yep, he can pass an edict that says we have to do whatever he wants or we get arrested. Yep, we agree with that. That's in line with our previous ruling that presidents are kings. This whole goddamn thing's a fallacy, man. It's actually unbelievable. So I'm gonna go spend some time with my family. I gotta meditate. I gotta think on this. I'm legitimately traumatized, and I wasn't holding that funeral in any kind of ironic comedic sense. This is the end of America. This is the end of the 240-year experiment, or however many years. This is it, man. The legacy of George Washington has been destroyed today. And it very much, it's so funny. Someone brought up the Magna Carta in the chat earlier. This very much reminds me of when the Magna Carta became irrelevant on that day during the Obama administration, when he made those Bush era laws, when he set them into stone and made them permanent. Because the day the Magna Carta died, it was like, some news people talked about it, and Democracy Now! Did a story on it. TYT talked about it, but that was it. Mainstream media maybe mentioned it for maybe a day, but that was it. One of the most important and seminal documents, the document that says, as a prisoner, you're allowed to disagree with with your jailer, that you are allowed your time, that someone government can't just throw you in jail, and you're not allowed to state your case. You're not allowed to, prove your innocence, right? Because it was all about defending George Bush's torture program at the time. But this reminds me of that, where it's just like, yep, another foundational pillar. I mean, obviously people are taking this a little bit more seriously, but are they going to be taking it in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, right? You can already feel it slipping from the zeitgeist. Oh, Kim Kardashian ate a salad in a restaurant. A couple more of those. Taylor Swift talked shit about Kim Kardashian. Couple more of those. Oh, what? Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember something about that. Yeah, presidents, they're not, they could do whatever they want. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah. They know it. The right-wingers know it. They know, the right-wingers know even more than the left-wingers just how stupid people are, just how willing people are to forget the scary things, forget the things that traumatize them, the uncomfortable things, to run away from them. They depend on it. And they're rewarded for it. Today will go down in history. Today is a very historic day. Doesn't feel like it, right? Yeah, it's just another day. It's a Monday, for God's sakes. I'm barely awake. Yeah, on a nondescript, regular Monday. Beautiful day out for me on a gorgeous, beautiful Monday. Supreme Court destroyed George Washington's legacy. There wasn't riots in the streets. There wasn't mass protests. Just a quiet acquiescence to what we already knew was true. That's what happened today. The Supreme Court said presidents are kings, and the people of America yawned. And switch the channel. Oh, the news is on. Oh, yeah, fake news. Yeah, butter emails. Oh, yeah, oh, Donald Trump, good guy. Oh, I don't know. Everyone's talking about the news. I'm trying to find the goddamn, where are the tits at? Everyone's talking about the stupid Supreme Court or something. I don't know. Where's the Trump speech? And the inverse is true on the left. Like, oh, what is Joe Biden? I was ready to spend all day on social media defending Joe Biden's debate performance. Says the average ignorant lefty, right? That's what happened today. Doesn't feel like it, right? But no, think about it. Think about it. Think about the ramifications of this. I can't stress enough. I don't have the degree to add the academic chutzpah to my argument right now. I can only tell you what I believe, and what I believe is that this is wildly fucked, and will absolutely lead to people dying. But I mean, we're talking about the loss of liberty here. We're talking about inalienable rights, being denied. Not just abortion, folks. That was bad enough. It should have been warning enough. Happy Monday. This has been the News Underground. I am Abandoned Nihilism, aka The Harbinger. Once again, inform yourself, join a political organization, and then put in the work. It's called political activism, and it's the only hope to reverse this even now. I'd like to give a big props to every single one of you motherfuckers in the chat. You're the true heroes today. Thank you for indulging me. Thank you for responding and giving me your insights in the chat. All of you, Kissing Gonzo, Lenny, of course, Ponder Monkey. Thank you for all of your comments today. Everybody in the chat, all you lurkers, The Big Room. Thank you so much, The Big Room. Why is Kanye West? Ask a Physicist. New person here, Ask a Physicist. Thank you so much, Ask a Physicist. If you like the News Underground, we do this quite a bit. This is the #1 news channel on Twitch, easily, without a doubt. Big props to Smash, Ice King of Space. You're awesome. Thank you for coming back. Cab, thank you, Cab. Tisriel, big props. Thank you for coming back. OG Tisriel, never forget, brother. Thank you for coming back. Do appreciate it. Thank you so much, Solar. Appreciate you stopping in. Hopefully I didn't traumatize you too much. Neuromance, Old Snake. Thank you so much, Neuromance. Big props to you. Never forget, brother. Never forget. Huntington Chess. Thank you, Hunting Chess. Miles Plays Chess. You two weirdos. Thank you so much, Chem Goblin. Big props to you, Chem Goblin. Vizon. Thank you, Vizon, for stopping in once again. That's all the list I have for today. But if I missed you, I'm sorry. Davey, Woke Patriot. I haven't seen you much lately. I'm sure you're busy being awesome guys. So hopefully we'll see you again soon. I mean, it's really unsatisfying for me as well. This is literally the culmination of everything I've been talking about since the beginning of, starting politics, as a streaming alternative to activism. This is literally exactly what I've been talking about. And, it feels so shitty, to be this cynical, to be totally right. And it's so out of my control. But this is what I've been warning about since the very fucking beginning. The whole purpose of this. If you've been watching the News Underground, this is what I harp on. These issues right now that are being affected by the Supreme Court's decisions. This is the big warning. I'm a democratic socialist. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Glory to the Ukrainian democracy. God help us all.